I don't remember when it started exactly, but it wasn't a single dramatic moment like you'd expect. There was no thunder crashing through the night, no screams, no broken glass hitting the floor. It began quietly, like a cold draft creeping under a poorly sealed door. Just a strange feeling in the middle of the night, like invisible eyes watching my every move. Not from outside the window or the closet, but from the living room, specifically from the couch. It's a gray couch we bought from a second-hand store, cheap and worn at the edges. There's a faint coffee stain near the armrest, nothing special about it at all. But for weeks now, every night at exactly 3:13 am, someone sits on it. I say someone, but it's always the same man, never moving, never blinking. He just sits there hunched slightly forward, hands resting on his knees, eyes locked on me. Even when I don't walk into the room, just peek from the hallway shadows. His head slowly turns toward me like he already knows I'm there watching. And he's always waiting, sitting in that same position, patient as death itself. At first I thought it was sleep paralysis, waking up unable to move, seeing shadows. But I wasn't paralyzed at all. I could walk, hide under covers, close doors. I just didn't because part of me needed to know if he'd still be there. And he always was, sitting in that same spot, staring with those hollow eyes. I never see him arrive at the couch. He's not there at 3:12 am. But at 3:13 exactly, not a second earlier or late, he's suddenly there. No sound of footsteps, no creaking floorboards, just materializing from thin air. I tried filming him one night, setting up my phone on a tripod pointed at the couch. I hit record at 3:10 and watched the footage the next morning with trembling hands. Nothing on the video. The couch was completely empty the entire time. But I was there in the frame, standing in the hallway, staring at something invisible. I froze the frame and zoomed in, seeing my expression blank and eyes wide. Like I was looking straight into the face of death itself, terrified and mesmerized. I showed the video to my girlfriend, which turned out to be a big mistake. She didn't see anything obviously, just laughed nervously and said I looked like a zombie. That night, she stayed over and I begged her not to go into the living room. I pleaded with her, but she did anyway, walking right in with lights off, barefoot. I stood in the hallway with my heart hammering and sweat dripping down my back. She looked straight at the couch, then turned around confused, whispering, "There's nothing there." But the man was there, sitting right behind her, staring directly at me. He looked at me, and then for the first time ever, he smiled wickedly. I told her to leave immediately, and we fought about my paranoid behavior. She thought I was being dangerous and hasn't been back since. That was a week ago. Since then I've tried everything, sleeping in different rooms, staying up all night. I even tried leaving the house before 3 a.m., but it doesn't matter at all. If I'm here at 3:13, he's there, and every night he gets a little closer. Last night he wasn't sitting on the couch like usual, which terrified me more. He was crouched on the floor with knees tucked, head tilted, still staring intently. Like a patient dog waiting for its owner to throw a ball or give a command. I didn't sleep after that, didn't even blink, just sat on my bed watching. The ticking of the wall clock was the only sound, getting louder and slower. Each tick sounded like a breath held too long, counting down to something terrible. Tonight I tried something different and actually spoke to him for the first time. I stood at the edge of the hallway, trembling, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who are you?" I whispered into the darkness, but got no response at all. "What do you want from me?" I asked, and then he blinked once, slowly. The clock chimed 3:13, and his head snapped toward me like yanked by invisible strings. His eyes locked onto mine, and then slowly, deliberately, he stood up from the floor. It was the first time I had ever seen him move his body. His joints cracked with the sound of dry branches snapping, sharp and precise. His body unfolded slowly like it had forgotten how to move after years of stillness. He was much taller than I thought, taller than any normal man should be. And still those hollow eyes never left mine, boring into my very soul. I backed away step by step until my heel hit the hallway wall. I thought if I moved too fast, he'd run at me or scream or vanish. But he just stood there perfectly still, then tilted his head at an unnatural angle, and spoke my name in a dry, raspy voice, "Lucas," like he hadn't spoken in decades. I didn't answer because I couldn't. My throat was completely closed with terror. He said it again, more insistently this time, "Lucas," and my legs gave out completely. I slid down the wall with my breath stuck in my throat, wanting to scream. I wanted to run, wanted to wake up, but I was already awake. He took one slow, dragging step forward on the hardwood floor, deliberate and menacing. Then another step, each one creaking not from weight but from pure intention. Like he wanted me to hear him approaching, to know that he was real. He reached the hallway and stood right at the edge of the shadows. I could see his face clearly now. His skin looked stretched too tight, like it was pulled across a frame that didn't belong to it, borrowed from someone else. Those eyes weren't angry or sad. They were hungry, starving for something I had. He crouched down slowly, lowering his face until it was level with mine, and whispered in that raspy voice, "You left me," with accusation in every word. I didn't understand what he meant and shook my head, trembling uncontrollably. "I don't know you," I managed to say, barely able to form the words. He leaned closer until I could feel cold breath on my face. "You do." Suddenly a flash hit my memory, a field, a small gray house, a storm. I was 5 or 6 years old, and I saw that same couch in a dark room. A boy was crying alone while someone was locked outside in the storm. "I waited," he said with infinite sadness. "I waited until 3:13 every night." I remembered the house now, my aunt's place far from the city where she fostered kids. There was a quiet boy there. We played once, then I never saw him again. The name spilled from my lips before I realized it. Jonah, and his smile widened. "I knew you'd remember eventually," he said, and everything came flooding back to me. I hadn't thought of him in years, had buried the memory deep in my mind. We were supposed to play hide and seek, but I never went back to find him. The storm hit and everyone was called inside except him, and no one looked. I stood up slowly, realization dawning on me. "You died that night." He nodded once, confirming my worst fears. "And you forgot about me completely." Tears burned down my cheeks as the guilt hit me like a devastating flood. But fear still sat heavy and cold in my chest, paralyzing every muscle. "I didn't mean to leave you," I whispered, but he said again, "I waited." The house around us began to darken, and the hallway stretched impossibly long. The clock kept ticking, 3:13, 3:13, 3:13, over and over like it was stuck. I looked past him and saw the couch was gone, the living room fading away. Like I wasn't in my apartment anymore, but somewhere between worlds of the living and dead. Then he stepped back into the consuming darkness that seemed to swallow everything. "I just wanted you to remember me," he said, his voice softer now, almost sad. "But you never came back to find me that night, and I took a step forward, as if I could follow him into whatever realm he existed in now. But the shadows swallowed him whole, and with one blink, he was completely gone. I woke up on the hallway floor with bright sunlight pouring through the windows. The clock read 7:42 am and the living room was empty, just the couch and silence. I thought it was finally over, that confronting the memory had freed us both. But that night at 3:13 exactly, he was back, sitting and staring and waiting. And now, every night he gets closer, sometimes speaking, sometimes just breathing heavily. Sometimes I wake up with faint finger impressions on my arm, cold as ice. Sometimes I hear him say my name before I fall asleep, Lucas, echoing in the darkness. Always at 3:13 exactly. I moved apartments, but it didn't matter at all. He came with the couch somehow, attached to it like a curse I couldn't escape. I threw the couch away, but it didn't matter. Now he just stands in corners. No furniture needed anymore. He's becoming stronger, more present, more real every night. I'm telling you this so someone will know what happened if I disappear. In case I forget again, or he finally takes me to wherever he's been waiting. If you ever wake up at 3:13 and feel someone watching from your couch, don't look. And whatever you do, no matter how curious you get, do not say his name aloud. The clock keeps ticking in the darkness. Tick, tack. Lucas.